What's up, you guys? This is Vafa, aka Register Shredder, here once again. This is another guitar lesson for you guys. This one's all about amps and effects. This is gonna finish it up for our sounds and guitar tone lessons. After this, we will be getting into music theory and guitar playing techniques and general tips. So let's just get started. Of course, you probably know how this works. If you haven't already watched my previous videos, check out my disclaimer section on my little YouTube channel profile. You can also see all my equipment that I use listed there. Anyway, general things about your amps and effects and stuff. Of course, once again, when it comes to tone, you want to play loud and pick hard for your best tone. So what I mean by that is, when you turn up your amp, it's going to kind of let all the frequencies come out as much as possible. So don't be afraid to just turn it up. This is metal. Don't be afraid to turn it up and make your neighbors go deaf. Another general kind of principle I use when talking about sound is, I like to do simple and straightforward. I like to take out as much effects as possible, and just guitar, amp, and distortion. That's it. Too many effects will get in the way of your guitar tone rather than helping it. So anyway, the main principle that I kind of use when I try to talk about sound and stuff is, you want to be clear and distinctive and have a really clean sounding guitar tone so you can hear every note and every chord. The reason I kind of have that mentality is because my favorite album of all time is Metallica and Justice for All. It's not like the perfect album, but to me it is the best metal album of all time to me. So anyway, if you listen to that album, you can see that they have a really loud, kind of heavy guitar sound. But not only that, it's like everything is clear and it's really easy to hear every single note and chord. So anyway, as you guys know, if you've read my little section about all the equipment I use my amp distortion. I use a Marshall. I think amp distortion just generally sounds better than pedals. I think it has like the most heavy, natural sound. So the brand of amp you choose is going to be really important. There's different types too. There's like tube amps, solid state, and there's modeling amps. So it's important to kind of go out and try a variety of different brands before deciding on something. Of course, one thing to remember with modeling amps is that modeling is never going to be as good as the real thing. It's just the fact of life. Same thing with if you try to put a humbucker in a Stratocaster, it's not going to sound like a Les Paul. It's going to sound like a Stratocaster with a humbucker. So as you guys have probably noticed, I have a really simple setup, just an amp and a guitar. It's probably not enough to use that if you were to try to actually use it in a band situation and play shows and stuff like that. You might need to go for like a bigger amp and actual rack-mounted equipment and stuff like that. So, but this this setup that I have works for my needs. If I was just to play with the band, like rehearse in a small room or something, it would work too. But anyway, I have a really simple formula to just getting a good sound out of just about any amp. What I like to do is turn the bass, the treble, and the distortion amount all the way up, and then adjust the mid-range however I see fit. So on my amp, I just turn it right in the middle, but that can change. And so there's a really specific reason why I've got it set up this way. First of all, bass and treble, you want as much richness in the sound as you possibly can get, and so turning the bass and treble all the way up will give you that. And of course, I want as much distortion as possible because we're playing metal. So now, as far as mid-range goes, mid-range is a really important frequency. The reason is the sounds in the natural world and people's voices are in the mid-range frequencies around I think 1,000 kilohertz or so. Or is it 1 kilohertz? Somewhere around there. So our ears are tuned to hear mid-range frequencies very prominently. So that's why it's really important to adjust it to the exact amount that you prefer. So there's a couple of extremes. You can turn your mid-range all the way down, which you'll get kind of like a classic scooped Metallica type sound. Your guitar will sound really crunchy and really aggressive, really mean when you palm mute. But the problem is, since your ears are tuned to mid-range, your ears will pick up other sounds more than your guitar. So like if you go and try to play with a drummer, your guitar will get drowned out. On the other hand, if you turn your mid-range all the way up, you're going to have a really loud, kind of aggressive sounding guitar, kind of like Slayer. They turn their mid-range all the way up. But personally, I think that Slayer's guitar sound kind of doesn't sound very good. It's really kind of muddy and kind of like just loud and kind of aggressive. The problem is I find that, you know, a lot of the notes and chords just get kind of mudded up and get kind of blended together. You can't really hear anything distinctively. So that's why I kind of go just for right in the middle. You know, you get the best of both worlds. But it really depends on amp to amp. So just give it a shot and try out different things. Alright, so let's talk about effects. Like I said earlier, you know, it's my opinion that you should turn off all of your effects and just kind of go straight with a straightforward tone. Of course, all bets are off when you're playing clean. You can use all kinds of effects there, but I really do feel that effects just kind of get in the way of your guitar tone. You know, I feel like it's just best to just go with distortion. That's it. That includes reverb and delay. But anyway, especially when you're playing rhythm guitar, you probably want to just cut everything out, especially the reverb too, because you know you want it to sound really in your face, and that reverb is just going to kind of muddy up your sound and make it sound like you're playing in an arena or something, when you really want it to sound like, to the listener, like your guitar is just right up in their face. So anyway, you know, there's a couple of different other effects you can use when you're playing leads. Probably the biggest ones are those reverb and delay. It's going to make your guitar sound more epic. It actually will sound really good to turn on reverb and delay when you're playing leads. Another effect people use when doing leads is wah. Now, of course, there's a lot of room for abuse when playing with the wah. You don't want to just rock it back and forth, because that just will sound cheesy and cliched. It's probably more effective to kind of just gently rock it, like very slowly as you're playing your lead, like going back and forth, to just do a really slow sweep. And another thing you do is just turn it on and then just don't rock it back and forth at all. Just leave it at a certain spot and use it as kind of like a volume boost or a filter. And then, of course, as a chorus, it'll probably sound best when you're using a clean tone. You really don't want to use it with distortion, otherwise it'll sound kind of 80s metal. And then, of course, there's like phasers and flangers and stuff, but those are really only for kind of one-off uses here and there, just for like adding some fun parts to other little parts. But yeah, that's pretty much it for effects. Alright, you guys, well, that's it. I know it's a short lesson, and like I said, you know, just keep it simple, keep it straightforward. Just turn your distortion, turn it up. Don't be afraid to turn knobs all the way up, and, you know, experiment. And like I said, our next lesson is going to be into music theory and playing tips and, of course, techniques, which you guys have all been asking for. Alright, you guys. Until the next episode, peace.